What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another beer review, Hoggie's beer review, and today I bring you another special review. Special because it's another Florida beer, another beer from Cigar City, the famed Cigar City Brewing Company in Tampa. They're getting bigger and bigger. They've made a big name for themselves in a very short amount of time. They're very popular. They're one of the most traded beers on online, Beer Advocate Rate Beer. They're one of the most requested beer mail beers. And today I bring you, after having brought you the Highlight IPA about a week or two ago, today I bring you the Humidor Series IPA. Now, for those that don't know, Cigar City's Humidor Series is a series of beers aged on Spanish cedar. A lot of breweries use oak and bourbon barrels and stuff like that for aging, but nobody, as far as I know, has done cedar before, specifically Spanish cedar. So Humidor Series, they're just beers aged on cedar. In this case, it's their IPA, which I believe, although I'm not sure, it's the same Highlight IPA, just aged on the cedar. Now I gotta admit here, gotta come clean, and let you guys know. And for those of you who've been watching my reviews for some time now, y'all know that I don't review beers I've had before. I like the video and the review and my opinion of a beer to be as fresh and objective and untainted as possible. Rarely do I review a beer I've already had. I like to share the first experience with you guys. But then there are exceptions. There are times like this where I just want to share something really good and really interesting. Especially something like Cigar City that, aside from being good and interesting, these beers are hard to come by. So if you can get your hands on it, their distribution is limited, the production run is limited. So if you can get your hands on it, I recommend you get yourself some of this. Because I had these arrived in town less than a week ago. I picked one up immediately, as soon as I got the call. And then I went back and picked up a couple more bottles because after I had the first one, I had to do it again. The cedar does add a very interesting touch, very interesting flavor profile to the beer. So I wanted to share it with you guys. We're doing the review today. Another Florida beer. I've been on the Florida thing lately. So Humidor Highlight IPA, or at least I believe it's the Highlight IPA. Classic IPA goblet that I drink all my IPAs or review all of my IPAs out of. And today we got an opener from Holy Mackerel, a beer I reviewed not too long ago. Another Florida beer. So Florida opener for a Florida beer. And we'll get to this in a second, but before I do, just to let you know, I usually punch up Beer Advocate and give you guys, whatever the rating is on Beer Advocate for whatever beer I'm reviewing at the moment. I'm not doing it for this one because I can't find this specific beer. Same thing on Rate Beer. I checked there as well, and I get the Highlight Humidor IPA, but not just a plain IPA Humidor Series, because nowhere on the bottle does it say Highlight. Now on Rate Beer, the Highlight Humidor IPA is rated like 100 out of like 230 reviews, so that's pretty damn good. But since I couldn't get you an exact one to be sure, I didn't bother doing it at all. So now that that's out the way, Humidor Series. Let's get right to it. And I've had this out the fridge for quite a few minutes, so it's warmed up a little, just opened up a little. And let's see what it's like. And pretty smoky. Anyways, getting right to it, pouring it right in. I can already tell it's a hazy golden, amber, golden, dark yellow kind of color. And I'll stop right there. Ooh. Yeah. So what happens when beers warm up? The more they warm up, the more they're likely to give you a whole lot of head. And that's what I got right here. Look at that. That is a nice looking beer. That's a pretty orange amber color. It's hazy. I cannot see through it at all. But it does look good. And off top, I'm getting fruity floral notes from the hop, along with this bitter, I don't want to say astringent, but this bitter, slightly puckering smell. Kind of a sappy, resiny kind of thing. And that's the beauty of this. The cedar, the flavor that the cedar imparts on this beer goes wonderfully with the hop notes of this particular recipe. Whoever said, let's put this particular beer in cedar, deserves an award, because it worked out very well. You get kind of a woodsy smell to it. I've been trying to put my finger on the best way to describe it since I first had it, and I've been having trouble doing so. But it's just a woodsy, like, you know, go out in the woods, pick yourself up, like rip a piece of branch off a tree, a piece of bark off a tree, or maybe grab a branch and just put it in your mouth. And that bitter, slightly puckering, woodsy kind of taste. You know, it's not as smoky or as rich as, say, oak. It's a little simpler, a little thinner, a little more bitter, but it's there. And it mixes wonderfully with the grassy and piney notes of the hop profile of this beer. And it makes it so much more mellow. The flavors are not in your face. Now, of course, a lot of this I'm saying from memory from the one I drank about 4 or 5 days ago, but now, you know, the woodsy smell, piney, grassy hops, there's a bit of caramel under there. That's all here right now. So let's taste it. And you taste the hops up front, but they don't hit you hard. They're there, but they're smoother and more mellow than your standard hoppy American IPA. The cedar does a great job of mellowing out the flavors and blending things together along with that taste of cedar, which on the finish, it's beautiful, and I really like it so much because that woodsy taste of the cedar blends amazingly with the hops. You get a good, solid, almost medium malt body across the middle. But the finish is this jumbled up mash of the hop notes, of the wood notes. And that bitterness just rolls all the way through. It is a bitter beer. It is great beer, a great beer for a hophead, but it's different. And that's what I like, because the wood, the cedar gives it almost a perfumey kind of thing, a flowery, perfumey note. And I know that's a little weird, but I'm doing the best I can here. But it gives it that flowery perfume note on top of the piney, grassy hops. This is a complex beer as far as what the cedar imparts and how it all works together. It's hard to describe, but it's great to drink. I mean, if you like beer that's been aged and has that wood, smoky, woodsy kind of flavor, you're going to like this. But the cedar is a whole different twist. And if you've tried the Highlight IPA and you liked it, you're going to love this, because this is so much more mellow and more complex. And yet the same fundamental flavors, the same base recipe is there. I can't say enough about this. I like it, it's tasty, it's fun to drink, but you have to give Cigar City props for doing something different and making it so successful. Because again, the flavor of the cedar goes so well with the hops in this beer. And yet it still has a solid malty body that is there, that is present, that has a bit of sweetness to it, but isn't overpowering. There's not a strong caramel flavor coming out of it. Smooth, simple, sweet malt under all that beautiful grassy, piney, hoppy cedariness. Glass full. Glass full, can't argue with it. Cigar City, they've blown up in about a year's time for beers like this. This is the reason that they've become so popular and so famous. And hopefully before this year is up, I'll be taking a trip to Tampa and going to the brewery. My cousin's in Tampa, go hang out over there, check out the brewery, get drunk with him, and I'll hopefully come back with a shirt and a glass and a story to tell. So, on that note, guys, the Cigar City Humidor Series IPA, if you see it, snatch it. It won't be around for long, and this is worth trying at the very least. Personally, I love it. I think it's a glass full and a beer that every hophead out there and every beer aficionado needs to try. High praise? Yes, deservedly so. And I'll leave it at that, guys. Thanks for watching, and cheers.